Japan has officially elected its first female prime minister, and the liberals aren't happy about it. The reason why is because she is a hard right, ultra-nationalist, Japan first, just a hard right Japanese supremacist, we'll say. Her name is Sanae Takaichi. I butchered that. Is it Mrs. Takaichi? It doesn't matter. She's a 64-year-old woman who's a member of the Liberal Democratic Party. That is the leading conservative party in Japan. And she ran on issues mostly regarding economics, immigration, some other nationalist issues that I wouldn't be too aware of, like the way the country reacts to or views the history regarding World War II. I think they have certain restrictions on military since World War II. Like, I don't think they can officially declare war. She has some stances on that, like more increased military power or availability. But I knew about her from a couple of weeks ago when I screenshotted this post and nobody looked at it. Where's my fan base at? All right. I need more likes and comments on my posts. Okay. But I mentioned Japan's ruling party. Oh my gosh, I can't say this. So the ruling party was the Democratic, whatever it's called, Liberal Democratic Party, which is a conservative party. Don't get confused. And she became their new party leader a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whenever I posted this. And so this is like their primary. That's how she got elected. So I don't know exactly how their prime minister system works. It seems like they have their kind of quote unquote primaries, like the equivalent to what we would have as primaries. And then they do an internal type of vote for who gets the seat of prime minister. So it seems like their equivalent of Congress, I guess, voted for the prime minister, which is her, which is why when I posted this, it kind of seemed like they knew she would be prime minister, and I guess they had a majority or something, and so they knew she would be voted in. And I also saw she had kind of some trouble getting voted in, which is why she only became prime minister yesterday, because they had to negotiate with some other party to get their votes so that they could get all the votes they needed to instate her as prime minister. But anyway, all that's in the past. She's officially the prime minister. But back then, when she was only the party ruler, I said, the media is already out in full force due to her right-wing nationalist ideas, accusing her of Nazi affiliations. This might be the woman who saved Japan from becoming Western Europe, which, as you know, has been ruined by immigration, African immigrants, Arab immigrants, Muslim people from wherever they come from have ruined Europe, especially the UK, places like France. I feel like Spain's maybe a little bit more protected from this, but you see these types of issues all over Europe, Western Europe, and you don't see this in Poland. I'm just saying, Poland's doing something right. Do not believe anything the MSN puts out about this woman. So true, be on your guard for the next 2 weeks, all right? This is the first video you're probably watching about her. Don't listen to anything the mainstream media says, okay? Yeah, sure, they're going to affiliate her with Hitler and the worst people. Now, she is a affiliate, a sort of apprentice to Shinzo Abe, I think that's how you say his name. He was the previous Japanese prime minister up until 2020. I believe he was assassinated. I actually don't know that much about him. Yeah, let me look it up. Just for journalistic integrity, just to be clear. Or am I thinking of somebody else? Yeah, he was assassinated. Oh, he was assassinated after being prime minister. Okay. I figured his reign ended. Oh, so he got sick. That's why his reign ended. See, I thought he got assassinated while being prime minister. I knew about his assassination, but I didn't really know that much about him. I don't follow Japanese politics for obvious reasons. But she seems to share a lot of his ideas. And I don't know how I feel about her economic ideas. We'll get into her policies in a little bit. But on the topic of immigration, which is what we're really covering today because it applies to a lot of places in the world, including the United States, it's very relevant. Like I said, would love to be on this, but unfortunately busy doing schoolwork. Regular uploads return in 2 weeks. And 2 weeks later, we're here making a video about it. So this is from AF Post. This is what they tweeted. They were trying to compare it to Hitler, basically. They said, Sanae Takaichi, a friend of the late Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, will become Japan's next prime minister after winning an internal party vote. Now, like I said, I don't know how they were so sure of this. I guess because they had the majority, conservative majority, they knew that she was likely going to become prime minister, but I'm not so sure that it was certain at this point. Takaichi previously wrote a blog recommending a book titled Hitler's Election Strategy, which stated, voters you cannot persuade should be eliminated. After significant backlash, the book was pulled from shelves 2 months later. Now, I have to say, I mean, do we agree with Hitler? Like, obviously no, okay? But, I mean, yeah, he was a good leader, You can't say he wasn't. You can't say he didn't have an effective election strategy, okay? He instituted himself as leader somehow. All right, he did it. It's like studying Fidel Castro to learn how to take over a country. Like, am I saying I agree with Fidel? Like, no, obviously not. But I'm sure if you ask him, like if you wanted to ask somebody how to be a good leader, how to take over a country, I'm sure he'd be the first person you'd ask because he knows how to do it. You have to ask somebody that's good at it, okay? Obviously not saying we should guess. I'm not saying we should guess the Jews. But I'm sure Hitler has a good idea of how to become a leader, how to be a leader. Takaichi is considered a hard right nationalist based. She is an advocate for strict immigration policies, the rearmament of Japan, which is what I was talking about regarding their military, opposes gay marriage, and is against a potential female emperor. Now, I actually don't know what this means, female emperor, like monarchy. Does Japan even have a monarchy? Is it like the UK where it's like a kind of a facade? I actually don't know. And I don't really care, to be honest. Because if it exists, it's not really functional, right? It doesn't have any power or do anything. On her stance on gay marriage, I think she's kind of not unopposed to the idea of same-sex relationships, but she just was against their being official, which is fine for somebody who's kind of secular. She said something right here. While opposing the legalization of same-sex marriage, she said that there should be no prejudice against sexual orientation and gender identity, and expressed support in promoting understanding itself. I don't know what that means. But yeah, she has kind of a secular right-wing view on it, which is fine. I don't expect her to have a really religious view. I actually don't know. What is a religion in Japan? Like Shinto or something? Anyway, it doesn't matter. What we're here for, where are her views on immigration? Let me read the top part first. So this is kind of a summary of her positions. This discusses how she got to power. Takaichi's views have been variously described as conservative and ultra-conservative. What does that even mean, ultra-conservative? Her domestic policy includes support for proactive government spending and the continuation of Abenomics. I don't know how you pronounce that. Now, this is not something I wouldn't be so in support of, because if you don't know about Abenomics, it's basically a ton of government spending and then quickly reducing regulations. It's a very complex thing, but I have a very libertarian view of the economy, so I think they should just let it go. Free up. I mean, of course I'm down with the reducing regulations, but I don't know how I feel about increasing spending to destroy the value of the yen, which is basically part of Abenomics. It's basically how it works. So yeah, don't know how I feel about that. Don't know how Japanese people feel about that. Economists, you can fill in here. I just care about the immigration issue. She has taken conservative positions on social issues, including the recognition of separate surnames for spouses and in regards for female succession to the Japanese throne. She supports revising Article 9 of the Constitution of Japan, which renounces the use of military force, a pro-Taiwanese foreign policy, and strengthening of the U.S.-Japan alliance. A member of Nippon Kaigi, I have no idea what this is. She has argued for a nationalistic view of Japanese history to be displayed in the media, academia, and broader education, and criticized the government's Murayama and Kono statements. So these are statements that kind of denounce Japan's role in World War II. So, okay, she's kind of seeking to minimize the role Japan played in World War II, but I feel like that's part of nationalist identity. You know what I mean? You want to be patriotic, almost in spite of what your country's done. No matter, you see people from third world countries do this. They could come from the worst shithole in the world, all right? But they'll still fly their flag and be like, this is the best country in the world, when it's objectively not, right? Especially in the US, you'll see immigrants do this. They come over and they fly their flags. Like you literally left your country to come here. How can you be so proud of it? Anyway, regardless, I do like that she's very pro-Japan, regardless of what Japan may have done in the past. I'm not saying you should ignore the issues, the things Japan did in its past, but it's sort of patriotism without concessions. It's kind of unapologetic patriotism, which is what you want in your citizens and in your leadership. Let me read a little bit here. Like her fellow candidates of the 2025 LDP leadership election, so it seems like her party is kind of all on board with this, her hardline stance on immigration. She sees a wave of anti-immigrant sentiment. Now, if you don't know, immigration has kind of been an issue in Japan recently. I don't know when it started exactly. I don't know when all these immigrants started showing up in Japan. But they started also having, similar to the Europeans, they've also started having issues with people who come from Arab nations, from African nations in particular. They started having issues even with tourists who are disrespectful of the rules of the culture of Japan and just kind of, Litter everywhere, I guess, would be the major problem. Don't respect the customs of the country. So yeah, she's kind of, as it states here, I'll just read what it says here at the bottom. Let me see here. Specifically, she has been described as wanting tighter restrictions on immigration and employed anti-immigration rhetoric. During the campaign, she called for a crackdown on illegal immigration and emphasized that foreigners must strictly obey Japanese law, stating that those who overstay their visa or are abscond from justice should be treated as harshly as Japanese citizens. I mean, that's just, I don't see why that wouldn't be the case already. Like, why would you treat a foreigner more leniently than a citizen? She proposed that policies to be reconsidered from the ground up, with an aim to establish an orderly coexistence between Japanese citizens and immigrants based on mutual consideration in communities. She proposed an agency to tackle issues such as visa overstays, over-tourism, land purchases by foreign nationals, which we could use here with the Chinese companies buying up land in the United States, particularly near defense facilities and strategic assets. On refugees, she stated, "For those who come to Japan with financial motives and claim they are refugees, I'll have you go home." That's exactly what we should be doing here. If you come here saying that you're running away from someplace and you're actually just here to make a little bit of money, which to be fair, is most of the people in the United States, how many are actually fleeing some type of crisis or, some issue? There's not that many war-torn countries in the world. Okay, well, maybe I'm showing my lack of education there. I'm sure there's a good amount. But if that were the case, you would think most of our immigrants would be coming from Ukraine and the Middle East and Palestine. But no, they're all coming from South America. So none of these are refugees in the case of the United States. And I'm sure this is also the case for Japan. I'm sure a lot of the immigrants are refugees. They're just people who want economic opportunity. And if you want financial incentives, I mean, that's fine. That's reasonable for you. But Japan doesn't need you. The U.S. doesn't need you. Takaichi supports adoption of a comprehensive economic security act, which, by the way, she named her person to lead the economic security. I don't know what the title is, but we'll talk about her in a second because she's also very tough on immigration and she'll be relevant. It seems like she's going to head the policies against immigration and tourism that would establish laws and organizations to prevent foreign students and engineers who come to Japan from nations like China from taking Japanese technology back to their home countries for military purposes. Now, this seems to be specific to Japan. I don't know. It seems like China's a threat to them. I actually don't know too much about this. I don't care too much about that either. I'm mostly here to talk about the immigration issue because I think that's the biggest threat to Japan. With their declining population, they're trying to import immigrants to work jobs that are, being left by people who are dying. Essentially, people are retiring and leaving their jobs behind. The population is drastically shrinking. They think they need immigrants to come in and fill the jobs that are being left, but in doing so, they're killing their culture and they're essentially killing themselves because what will Japan be if eventually, every year, essentially what you're doing is you're replacing Japanese people with foreigners. Well, how long until it's just a foreign country? Foreign to Japan, until it's like Arab or African or something. This is another little bit from NPR describing who Sanae Takaichi is. She's also courted controversy with her disdain for immigrants and even tourists, a rapidly growing industry in Japan. Now, I thought tourism was already a big industry in Japan. So I guess it's getting even bigger. I don't know. While campaigning, she cited unconfirmed reports of tourists kicking sacred deer in Nara Park, part of a larger criticism of tourism that many saw as xenophobic. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if this happened. If you don't know what this is like some park where deer are allowed to roam free. I guess the deer can be kind of aggressive. My brother recently went to Japan. He saw this park. Yeah, I could definitely see how some tourists maybe saw some aggressive deer and were fighting back or something. I don't know. According to this person, she has a general dislike of foreign people and immigrants. I don't think that's what she has. And see, this is like the slander that people throw out. They start to conflate what you actually think with something that you don't believe, and they make it sound worse than it is. Like, oh, she just hates foreigners, which is what you can say about me. He just hates people from other countries. He's just the worst xenophobe, which is probably true. But I don't hate people from other countries, okay? I just want them to stay there. Why do you have to come here? Just go home. All right. During her campaign, she's called for restrictions on non-Japanese people buying property in Japan and a crackdown on illegal immigration. Non-citizens, having a crackdown on non-citizens buying property in your country is just rational. It's just the right thing to do. Like, why is there any controversy around this? I don't. But I'm glad Japan has her. It seems she's going to do a good job. She's going to keep Japan's interests first, which is what matters. Now, this is the lady that she appointed as, I don't remember her official title. Let me watch this. This video announces who she is. She is the Minister of State for Economic Security. Her name is Kimi Onada. Kimi Onoda? Kimi Onoda. Let's watch this video and see who she is.
A newly created position to be in charge of foreigner-related policies. Takaichi has repeatedly said that she will strengthen immigration policies during the LDP presidential election campaign. She led the team that supported Takaichi in this year's LDP presidential election.
Yeah, so she makes some basic. Oh, sorry, I should probably be translating, but she didn't say anything relevant here. Really, just introduced Takaichi.
When Takaichi was elected the LDP head,
I'm really glad we have been supporting her, but things are only just beginning to get tough. Let's continue to support Sanae as a team.
She was determined to continue her support for the leader. Onoda was born to an American father and a Japanese mother.
I'm curious to see how Japanese people view her because of this, because she had an American father. Now, I wonder if her father was Japanese American because she has, well, she seems to have a Japanese name. So I don't know if that's kind of, I don't know what you would call when a name gets like assimilated into the country's a different language. But I wonder if it's like a Japanese version of her American surname or if her father had a Japanese surname because he was Japanese American or whatever. But anyway, just curious to see. Just curious of how Japanese people would view a person like this in their government.
Admired the heroes she saw on TV as a child and aspired to become a hero of justice.
I did see that she had an issue with her citizenship because it seems like Japan only recently allowed mothers to transfer citizenship to their children. And so obviously her parent that was Japanese was her mother. Her father was American. And so she had to renounce her American citizenship. And for a period, she had dual citizenship, which was kind of contentious. It was kind of like a controversy, I guess, over there. What is this?
She entered politics in the 2016 House of Councilors election. Onoda strongly advocated for the need for regional revitalization.
Based.
She won the lawmaker's post.
Who the hell?
Onoda served as the Parliamentary Vice Minister of Justice in Suga Yoshihide's cabinet in 2020. She also served as Parliamentary Vice Minister of Defense in Kishida Fumio's cabinet in 2022.
Okay, she has a long history in politics. I don't really care that much about her history. What I want to know is what she's going to do about immigration. Now, here's a tweet who has been going... This account, by the way, has been going scorched earth in favor of Sanae Takaichi. This account really loves this woman, which is great. It's like a right wing. It's a very particular, like very specific account. It's a right wing, like Asian account. I don't know if this person's Japanese or something else. I'm assuming they're Asian. I don't know where they're based out of. It seems like the United States, but they cover a lot of Asian politics anyway. So we'll be looking at a lot of their tweets today. And they translate this video. They say that, let me just mute this. They say, Kimura says, we will not tolerate illegal stays, illegal employment, or the abuse of the system. We will not allow the system which Japanese people diligently contribute to be exploited. We will aim for zero illegal foreigners and advance effective policies. Now that is just reasonable, rational. Don't know how anybody could be opposed to it. Of course, the Japanese have long been called racist for not accepting people who are not ethnically Japanese to consider themselves Japanese. But it's just a result of their long history of homogeneity. Now, there's this quote. Now, I want to play this video because it seems like this video has been mistranslated. According to the tweet, it says, Japan's new prime minister says she'd rather let the population shrink than flood the country with low-skilled immigration because preserving Japanese society matters more than cheap labor. Now, it'd be great if she actually did say that. That would actually be cool. But a lot of people have been calling this out, saying this is a mistranslation. So I don't know if this is true or not. If it's true, then yeah, based. I mean, that's cool. But I don't actually know if that's true. She says, as for me, I want to have calm, mutually considerate, something or other with foreigners. How can we live in such a way? I intend to reconsider it. I plan to think about it from zero because year after year, the culture between us and everything else is so very different. Yet people are being brought in all together. To keep bringing them in this policy, we must pause and reconsider it. Those who come with economic motives and claim to be refugees, such people will be properly sent home. Also regarding those who overstay illegally, they too will be strictly required to obey the law. Okay, now it sounds like she didn't say what they said she said, but yeah, all of that is normal. I mean, if you have foreigners in your country, get along with them, get rid of the ones that don't adhere to your law, assimilate the ones that stay. You know, as long as she takes a stance on the Muslims in her country, that's the big issue. I have to warn Japan, if they didn't know, in case any Japanese people are watching. The big issue is the Muslim population in Japan, because they have a very invasive culture. This is a video of Kimi Onada. What's wrong? This, according to this, what she says, obviously can't read Japanese, which is why I assume Asian Dawn is Japanese, because he puts up these videos in Japanese kanji, and I guess he expects us to read it. Like, bro, I don't read Japanese. She says, supposedly, what's wrong with patriotism? What's wrong with loving Japan? If you hate Japan, then leave Japan. Onada was born in America. Her father's Caucasian and her mother's Japanese. She moved to Japan when she was 1. Oh, I guess her father is white. Okay. But yeah, I mean, she perfectly describes the issue with immigrants, and it's often that they don't like the country that they're moving to. They're just doing it for economic incentive, right? At least a refugee would be appreciative, right? A true refugee. They'd be like, I'm glad this is my home. You saved me from a war-torn environment. You saved me from, you know, even economic refugees, you would think, would be grateful for the opportunity to improve their financial status somehow. But often you see that immigrants are ungrateful and disrespectful of the culture because they didn't have to work to create it. It's not a product of their effort. So what's a good example for this? It's like somebody coming in and taking advantage of somebody else's work, you know? Like, you're not going to have the same appreciation for it. It's like if you inherited a bunch of money, you know? Like, you're not going to have the same appreciation of the effort it took to gain it than the person who actually did it, than your parent or whoever gave you that money. So anyway, that's just an example. That's how I see it anyway. That's why immigrants often tend to be ungrateful of the culture that they get adopted into. So another post talking about, okay, so I just looked up Japan immigration, and I'm just going to show some videos about the issues maybe that are happening in Japan. This seems to be a left-wing account talking about Ghanaians trying to get visas in. Oh no, it's a conservative. What is he saying? Because of fake news about Japan issuing visas to Africans, hundreds of Ghanaians lined up to apply for a Japanese visa. I remind everyone here, Japan is not issuing visas to migrants. Our entry requirements remain strict. Based. Okay, well, so this is the opposite of what the United States does, where people show up at your border, you just let them in and then deal with them, or say you're going to deal with them later, and they float around your country for who knows how long. Japan is actually keeping them at the border. Based. Played in a heavy metal band. That's true. Apparently she played in a heavy metal band and rode motorcycles, which is cool, I guess. Let me see anything else here regarding immigration. With just 3% immigration in Japan, they have already begun to organize massive protests against the government's migration policies. Said policies are causing cultural clashes between the local population and foreigners of African origin. All it took was 20,000 Africans moving to Japan for them to say, yeah, we're not doing that. And they looked the most hardline person they could find on immigration. That's funny. Japan is supporting illegal immigrants and strengthening its rules on immigration to close loopholes, enabling so-called economic refugees to take an unfair advantage of their generous system. Children born in Japan could face deportation. Whoa, is this in English? That's wild, actually. Oh wait, this is old. This doesn't have anything to do with Takaichi. Okay, well, I'll look at this later. I mean, this would be based also. I wouldn't be surprised. That's why I thought it was relevant. This is 2 years old. I thought it was something she was proposing or something. But yeah, deportation for children born in Japan. I mean, no offense. If you're two African migrants, you're a person born in Japan. Like, sure, you probably have Japanese identity, but I mean, it's good to pull out the root of the problem quickly, right? In the United States, you can't really have the same resolution of this problem because there's so many people who are mixed origin, ethnicity. Whereas in Japan, we all know what a Japanese person looks like, all right? You know, this guy, I don't think he's Japanese, no offense. I'm sure he's born and raised in Japan. And it's sad that you want to deport somebody born and raised in a country, but he's not Japanese. What is this?
Look at Japan right now. Look at what they're doing. They've elected a strong leader, Sanae Takaichi.
Okay.
Instead of apologizing for who she is or what her nation is, she creates a new ministry, not for increasing immigration, not for celebrating diversity, but for managing it, for ensuring what they call orderly coexistence. They're not talking about open borders, they're talking about control.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about deportations. They're talking about preserving the fundamental character of their nation.
Excuse me. Exactly. There's no issue necessarily with immigration. There's no issue necessarily with in fact, I would say there's probably something, I mean, there is something virtuous about helping immigrants, and in a way you kind of owe that to humanity if you have a successful nation, to take in people if you can afford it, right? But obviously you have to take care of your citizens first. And if there's issues between the immigrants and your citizens, then you have to do what you can to get rid of the immigrants, the problematic ones at least, or diminish the effect of the immigrants, right? The problematic ones, reduce the immigration until the problem subsides. Obviously, you have to acquiesce to your citizens first and whatever their needs are.
Nation, not fake values. And the world nods. The international community might offer a few meek questions, but they accept it. They accept that Japan is for the Japanese. There's an unspoken respect of culture. This homogenous society has a right to protect itself, to say this is who we are and this is how we will remain. Now turn your gaze to the West. Look at any European nation, any majority white country that dares to even whisper the same sentiments. What happens? They are immediately branded as racists, as xenophobes, as fascists.
And make no mistake, Japan will also be labeled this way. But the difference is that this problem is barely starting in Japan. It's very young. And so Japan has the opportunity to prevent these labels, or I suppose they'll get the labels anyway, but it has the opportunity to fully destroy the problem before it kind of permeates Japanese society, right? The problem with kind of reversing the issues of immigration policies in like Italy or something, or France, for example, is that there's already a lot of people born and raised in France who are with origins in other countries. So those people already have an opinion. They already vote. They already consider themselves part of that identity. And so they influence. It's like what you're seeing with the New York City mayoral race, where I forgot the guy's name, Mamdani, whatever his name is. You know who I'm talking about. He has more support from people who are not born in New York than from people who are not born in this country, who are not Americans, than from Americans. So he's probably gonna win mayor of New York just on the basis of support of people from other countries. So once you open the door and these people are in, it's kind of a snowball effect where they start electing policies that favor them. Obviously, if you're an immigrant, you want other people like you coming into the country that's supporting you, and it's harder to reverse at that point. So you kind of have to pull out the Band-Aid. You're gonna get these type of labels, fascist, racist, whatever. And make no doubt, Japan will. And of course, Sanae Takaichi has already probably gotten them. Like I mentioned, the comparison to Hitler. But they just have to deal with it now. It'll be easier than in the future when you do have the problem. And then you already have these people living and being a part of your country, kind of sharing identity with the country. And it'll be harder to remove.
The full weight of the globalist apparatus, the media shrieks, the banks threaten capital flight, the NGOs mobilize. There is a brutal, glaring double standard at play here. It tells us a very simple, very ugly truth, that the powers that believe that white nations have no right to a future, that our homelands are not really ours, that we are meant to serve as a dumping ground for the world's problems, while every other people on Earth is encouraged, even applauded for preserving their own. Japan is proving it's possible. They are demonstrating that national sovereignty and demographic integrity are not outdated concepts. They are the very foundation of a functional society. They are making the conscious choice to endure economic challenges rather than sacrifice their civilization on the altar of globalism. The question for the West is no longer can we do the same?
Oh my gosh, I just ruined my video.
Do we have the will to face down the bankers and the media and the accusations, to look them in the eye and say, we are done apologizing. Our home, our rules. Japan is showing us the way. The only thing missing is the will to follow. Okay, this guy had a great opinion. It was a long video though. I probably shouldn't have watched the whole thing. Oh, also she's a fan of Margaret Thatcher. I don't know that much about Margaret Thatcher, but she seems to be a huge fan of her. Just something I should mention, I guess. Japan has had enough of immigration and wants to rethink its whole immigration policy and reduce it to zero. Japan has woken up.
Who looks set to be elected Prime Minister by the Parliament, said immigration was to blame for rising crime and unfair competition with Japanese workers.
True.
This is strange, isn't it? Isn't it unfair? Unfortunately, with the increasing number of foreigners in Japan, we're seeing and hearing stories like this every day. Because Japanese people are patient, everyone just swallows what they say. However, I want to take this opportunity to say that this is just not good and we have to stop it.
She said she wanted to go back to zero, pause immigration and rethink the whole policy.
To me, I want to have a calm, mutually considerate relationship with foreigners. How we can live together, I intend to reconsider it completely. I plan to think about it from zero again, because year after year, the culture between us and everyone else is so very different, yet people are being brought in all together.
So she's not saying that they need to eliminate foreigners altogether. She's saying, how can we mend the relationship between Japanese people and foreigners? And obviously the foreigners are belligerent. They have a more loud, a more brash culture. They're loud. The Japanese are very quiet, respectful. These cultures are just so drastically stark in their differences that I would say she kind of has a naive view here in thinking that she can mend the relationship. But hopefully what she means is she's going to deport as many people as she can and keep the ones that are willing to assimilate. Hopefully that's what she's saying, you know. I don't know if that's actually what she means. It sounds like what she said just now, it sounded like she was saying we're going to try to acquiesce to the foreigners as much as we can and keep them happy so that they can get along with the Japanese, which is not what they should do. Okay, just a warning to the Japanese, all right?
To keep bringing them in, this policy we must pause and reconsider. Those who come with economic motives and claim to be refugees, such people will be properly sent home. Also, regarding those who overstay illegally, they too will be strictly required to obey the law.
Takaichi, a self-professed fan of Margaret Thatcher, wants to address both issues with migrants and tourists, as well as focusing on rebooting the Japanese economy. The anti-immigration party Sanseito has soared in support among the Japanese, forcing other parties to take voters' concerns more seriously. Japanese media is focused heavily on Britain's troubles with its own immigration policy, and a movement inspired by the Raise the Colours campaign took off in Japan.
Now this is smart from the Japanese. They see the UK is speedrunning their demise, okay? They see the UK is way ahead of the United States in terms of accepting woke nonsense. Unfortunately, the United States is the factory, the main producer for terrible ideas, woke ideas, and we export them to other parts of the world, unfortunately. And other parts of the world are very susceptible to them, especially places that are rich and have nothing else to worry about, like Europe, which is why Britain is suffering so much, because they accepted so many nonsense ideas, like reparations even in the UK, which is like, why do y'all even need reparations? Y'all didn't have the same issue with slavery. I mentioned this in another video. But the UK has unfortunately let so many people into their country that their country is being lost. And I think it might be too late to save the UK. And Japanese people are seeing that. I feel like there's some similarities between the UK and Japan. And Japanese people are seeing the issues with Great Britain. And they say, we don't want that. We know what the outcome of this is. We're seeing it live in the UK. Now, we haven't seen the demise yet. But it essentially may as well be. I mean, the number of rapes, the number of the insane skyrocket of crime in the UK. Is it even safe to live in the UK? Anywhere? I don't think so. It sounds very doom and gloom, all I see coming from the UK. And obviously Japanese people realize that, and they don't want that for their country. And they realize this is where they're heading if they keep accepting these foreign migrants into their country.
Takaichi dedicated more than half of her policy speech to migration-related issues, saying foreign tourists had assaulted deer in her home region of Nara. She vowed to do something about, quote, people from abroad taking pleasure in trampling on Japanese feelings. Western media has branded Takaichi a nationalist.
It's going to be interesting to see how the relationship between
That's accurate, I think.
and Trump evolves. I think in terms of ideology, they seem to be closer bedfellows than Trump and Ishiba. Obviously,
I have no idea who Ishiba is, but I do agree. She does seem to share a lot of Trump's ideas.
They share quite a nationalistic agenda. They've both said things that are pretty hostile towards the foreign residents and population of their respective countries.
Takaichi is likely to become Japan's new prime minister in the coming days. Her ruling LDP party...
Okay, so this was posted a while ago. This was posted over a week ago. So see, like I said, I guess people knew already that she was going to be prime minister before it actually happened. Fifi, and wait. Okay, so this is an Egyptian woman describing why the truth about immigration to Japan, I guess. She says, I really hate Mr. Yoneyama's answer. Since I'm a foreigner, let me say this clearly. Because Japan cannot gather enough workers and there's a labor shortage, filling that gap with foreigners is a form of modern slavery. The government says they are discussing it, but problems are happening because the government is not actually discussing it. Many people who come from places like Nigeria, I'm just going to read what it says. Y'all don't even watch the video. I can't even play it with the sound at the same time. Where did I leave off? Many people who come from places like Nigeria through TICAT, I assume that's some immigration policy of Japan, come from politically unstable countries, and then when they say go home when it's over, or we'll adjust the number of foreigners, of course they won't go back because Japan is like heaven. They'll just keep applying for asylum and stay in Japan. All the Japanese, and this is the end of the quote, and the tweet says, all the Japanese want is to protect the beautiful country of Japan. That makes sense. You can't blame the foreigners. If there's economic prosperity in Japan, it seems like a good, clean nation with a lot of opportunity. Why would you want to go back home, you know? And of course you're going to want to stay. You're not going to accept the country wanting you to return home after the end of your stay. The left won't celebrate Japan's first female prime minister because she's an anti-immigration Nazi. So true. Now this is, let me see, what is this? Again, Asian Dawn, like I said. Very relevant account. You can see what looks like a bunch of tourists or foreigners hanging around Japan. A group of people were seen arguing, oh, let me read this, and shouting angrily in the crowd. He says, I'm assuming it's a, I wonder why Japan is implementing an entry system for foreign visitors. The Japanese system consists of 7 major policy planks intended to prevent foreign nationals with criminal records from entering Japan, as well as to swiftly deport those who have been denied refugee status, according to Asahi Shimbun. No idea who that is. So yeah, you see a lot of people on Twitter celebrating the, I don't get this meme. A lot of people celebrating the election of Sanae Takaichi, obviously right-wing account, which is all great. This is, again, Kimi Onada, the immigration leader. Now, oh, let me see what this says. Muslim in Ishinomaki, Miyagi Prefecture. If we come to Japan, does that mean we have to change our religion? Cremation is impossible. I have no intention of understanding Japanese thinking. And the guy says, go home. Of course, this is how Muslims think. They want to go to a country. I mean, they've explicitly stated it in the UK. Oh my gosh, I had a sneeze. I hope the auto editor cut that out. Anyways, what was I saying? This is a Muslim way of thinking, an Islamic way of thinking. You go into a country, there's clips of British Muslims or Muslims in Britain. None of you would consider them British Muslims, but Muslims in England who are saying, yeah, our plan is fully to take over England and to convert it and make it an Islamic state by whatever year. I don't remember what year they stated, but like 10 years or 20 years in the future. We plan this all to be Muslim and Islamic and Muslim controlled. And, you know, we want, what is it called when they have they institute Islamic rule? Not jihad. What am I thinking of? I don't know. Whatever their ruler is called. The caliphate, that's what I'm thinking of. Anyways, you can't accept these immigrants. These are the most dangerous kind, you know. If you are, I'm just saying Japan, you might want to filter by religion. And, you know, Christianity would be the best one. I'm just saying. Because really, I think the Japanese people have already realized, they have, this account is saying it, all right? Black fatigue in Japan. For those that try to argue that Japanese are the problem, the Japanese have safer, cleaner, more advanced societies. Black people do not. This account is, what is it saying?
Black fatigue. I am really disgusted and disappointed in these young black girls right now. They have lost their whole mind, and I just want to come on here and say, like, the way that you carry yourself in different countries, it's going to reflect on everybody that looks similar to you.
Okay, facts.
With the starter, so they've been replacing the starter. I'm thinking we're in the air this whole time. It's been 3 hours we're on the plane, and these girls were being loud before the plane was getting ready to take off.
Okay, belligerents.
When there was an issue with the plane, they became so disrespectful, so loud, so ghetto, and put them through the medicine. Sleeping pills.
What can you expect?
I can't even freaking turn around to say anything because I can't put my thought. So, like, if I find them, I'll let them know this, because honestly, when we're then, they were like, hey guys, you guys can sit on the plane, They make an announcement, they're like, hey, it's going to take another 30 minutes. You guys are going to sit on the plane, we're going to get it done, then we're going to take off. These girls start to try to open up the cabin doors, and the lady is like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be seated. And she's
This
like,
story's going on a little long, alright?
Immediately knew. I was like, either they're going to get kicked off or they're about to be playing us because they're acting belligerent. I think you've seen on Spirit Airlines or Frontier in America, those freaking ratchet videos, they were acting just like that. Stereotypical black, nasty attitude girls. Not. And I keep saying this because I waited till everyone was off the plane.
Hey, I like this woman.
I know it last because I'm so still like wobbling, get my stuff. And the flight attendant behind me is like, just read the plane. And I'm like, girl, I wasn't one of those girls that were being disrespectful.
Oh.
And she's like, what? Like, just giving me so much.
Wait, is this even in Japan? Did this girl mention she was in Japan? Am I tripping? Black fatigue on Tokyo. Okay, she.
They became so disrespectful.
Okay, she was in Tokyo.
And I'm like, girl, I wasn't one of those stink, public, embarrassed.
Okay, well, we got the idea. Shout out to this woman for recognizing the fact that Japanese people, like any person in the world, that's why black fatigue is a thing. If you notice a pattern, all right, it's not racism. It's just realizing a truth of the world, all right? And the reason Japanese people are more open about it because it's less common in their country. So they're less likely to see a black person. So if they see one and they see them belligerent, and obviously a lot of them are tourists, they're gonna be like, oh, they're all like this. And it makes sense. I mean, but if you notice in the US, it's racism all of a sudden. What else is this person posting? He posts a lot of other stuff too. They post a lot of other stuff. So I'm just gonna move on. Now, oh, this is a group of Muslims in Japan. So this is, if you can believe it, this is Japan, all right? Absolute insanity. Just marching, parading around streets of Japan, yelling, like, bro, what are you doing? As if this is their country. Like, bro, you're refugees from another country. Shut up and assimilate and be a part of the country, all right? This is Sanae. Oh my gosh, shut up. Can't take the freaking screaming. Anyway, Sanae Takaichi, the new and first female prime minister of Japan, said she would deport all illegal immigrants and culturally incompatible foreigners, such as these Islamists who demand Sharia law. Do you agree? Of course we agree. Come on. What does this say in the comments? See if anybody puts anything based. Islam is a death cult based. What is this? There are around, what the hell number is that? 20,000? 2.3 million? I don't know what that number is supposed to be. Japan has to learn something from the situation they've created in Europe. Japan still has time to prevent Japan from becoming Japanistan. This is Japanese. I can't watch it. This is so stupid. Trump, my God, Pakistan looks like a shithole. That's London, Mr. President. So stupid. I'm a proud Islamophobe. Me as hell. Let me retweet that actually. Hold on, where's it at? Just a quick little repost, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Now, Sanae Takaichi has received a kind of a shout out from a notable conservative here in the US, Ron DeSantis, who said CNN is referring to the new prime minister of Japan as a hardliner conservative. This is a signaling phrase to its lefty readers that she is icky. In my book, CNN's opprobrium, big word, I have no idea what it means she must be pretty good. Good luck to PM Takaichi. And then this is, I guess, a Japanese reporter. I guess she reports like conservative news around the world in Japanese. She's like translates, aggregates news from around the world. She says, "Thank you, Governor DeSantis. Japan is finally positioned to move toward a brighter future. A great many Japanese people have high hopes for Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. Japan's new cabinet appointments are also excellent." Ron DeSantis responded saying, "Japan is a great country and a great U.S. ally. I hope the new prime minister can deliver. I will say Tokyo is the cleanest city I've ever seen. It was impressive, especially compared with so many decaying U.S. cities. And Japan has excellent cuisine. Only Italy can compete amongst foreign countries, in my opinion." And I would say Mr. Ron DeSantis is wrong. Japan beats Italy by a mile, all right? Shout out Japan. They have great cuisine, like he said. And he has great takes here. I can only agree with him on... This is me asking questions to Grok, and I can only agree with him on his stance on Japan. There's nothing else really to say. Looking forward to seeing Sanae Takaichi's, I still can't say her name, at the end of the video. Looking forward to see her reign and how she runs her country. I don't know how long prime ministers last for in Japan, but either way, looking forward to seeing what she does, hoping she cleans up Japan, hoping Japan has a shift in terms of their immigration policies. and that they come to realize that immigration is not the way. You don't have to import the third world, all right? You can keep it at the border, keep it at bay, and don't accept the cultural change. Don't accept the woke propaganda. You don't have to accept Muslims from anywhere, okay? And yeah, hoping she does well.